Step into a world of real holiday magic at Coca-Cola's Classic Christmas, debuting November 16th and running through December 29th at Houston's Memorial City Mall. This season, cherished holiday traditions come to life in Houston amid a spectacle of dazzling lights. Crafted by the creators of the renowned world's largest Christmas light maze, Enchant Christmas, this immersive holiday celebration promises to create unforgettable moments of togetherness and joy at this beloved time of year. Learn more at ClassicChristmas.com. That's ClassicChristmas.com. Today on CityCast Houston. It's been 1 week since Milby High School student Sergio Rodriguez was tragically killed by a train on his way to school. Now, Union Pacific is making some safety changes, but we gotta ask, why isn't more being done to fix a problem we've all known about for years? Plus, there is no love lost between Mayor John Whitmire and County Judge Lena Hidalgo, but his latest comments have us scratching our heads. And we break down some interesting spending by outgoing District Attorney Kim Ogg. ABC 13's Pooja Lodia and Houston Landing's Monique Welch join me to recap the week. It's Friday, December 20th. I'm Rahil Ramzanli, and here's what Houston's talking about. Happy Friday, y'all. Monique, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. The holidays are around the corner. Excited.
I know it's going to be a good time. And Pooja, good morning. Welcome back in. How are you?
I'm always thrilled to be here. I love y'all's show, so thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to chat with both of y'all. Before we get to the news, I have one quick question, and I would love to hear y'all's thoughts on this one. Pooja, I'll start with you. What was your happiest moment of 2024 in Houston?
Oh my gosh, that is a hard one.
I
I'm
only
trying to
ask hard
think.
questions.
I know you do. I think as a reporter, my happiest moment in 2024, it was covering a lot of these horrible disasters we had. We had the derecho, we had Beryl, but I got to do a lot of really great stories about people sort of coming together after that. I did a story about a restaurant that had no power but stayed open and was offering free food. I did so many stories about people just kind of helping each other, and those are always my favorite Houston stories. So I'm going to go with that.
Nice. I love that. Monique, how about you? What was your happiest moment in Houston for 2024?
Yeah, that's funny that Pooja chose that. I was going to say it was probably my least favorite highlight of 2024, just because that was my first time not having any power.
Well, I mean, the good part that came from
Yeah,
it.
the good parts.
No, but I love the spin that she put on it. So I'm like, oh, that's actually a really good one. I would kind of say same. I mean, I was out in Galveston, got a hotel out there just 'cause it's the only place I could find. But because I was there, I was like, I might as well, find some stories and do some great work. And I spoke to a lot of local business owners who were just most down to earth people you'll find and you'll meet. So just being able to connect with people in an unfortunate situation was really, really cool.
That's really good. I love that. And again, to me, like it was a good moment, but I was so tired of Houston Strong. Houston Strong. I hope we never use that again, by the way. Houston Strong should be left in 2024. I just want to be Houston Normal. Yeah, that was 2024 for me. Pooja, you kicked this off because we have some important updates regarding Sergio Rodriguez, the young man who lost his life when he was hit and killed by a train. But we have an update from Union Pacific and just overall, tell me what's been happening with that story.
I have to tell you, this story, just like I think it did for so many Houstonians, this story really hit me. It is so painful to hear about what happened to this boy. And I think what's even more painful about this whole thing is that if you talk to people in so many of these areas around town, this is not an uncommon problem. This is something that has been going on for years now. There are so many families you talk to who will say, oh, yeah, my kids go to school every single day by going underneath the train. So many of these communities are broken up due to trains that are stalling on these tracks for several hours. So the good news that has come out of this is that Union Pacific just this week said that it will be limiting train schedules. And so it's not going to be going during school drop off and pickup time near Milby. Of course, this is still a big problem, though, because there are multiple schools that still have stalled trains in front of them, and I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of those schools are in lower income areas. I mean, these are really hurting communities that are already hurting. So, yes, a good thing for many people who go to Milby High School, a response from Union Pacific, but there's still a problem out there.
Yeah, this is a major problem. And again, it took the tragic passing of a 15-year-old boy for action to be taken not only by Union Pacific, but let's be honest, from our state leaders, city leaders. I know there have been advocates talking about this for a long time, but if Sergio doesn't, get hit and killed by a train, you think anything's being done? I don't think there is. I don't think anything's being done because, like what you just mentioned, a lot of these schools are in lower income neighborhoods. Frankly, like when I posted this story on my Instagram, the overwhelming response I got from people was like these are quotes. They don't care about brown and black communities. They don't, right? And they being leaders, being Union Pacific, the industry leaders. And it took this passing and the headlines that came from it for them to actually put in this 1 hour ban. Thank you so much. What about the other schools, right? Are they going to do anything about these other schools that are located near railroad crossings, right? There have been 9 identified, including Milby being one of them, but there are over 100 that are near railroad crossings. So it's I'm glad they're doing something, but why not do this before, right? This is a problem we've known about for years.
Absolutely. I think it's completely offensive for a lot of these elected officials to act surprised at this point. I mean, this is something that
Yeah.
so many advocates in these areas have been talking about for years now. And I also think it's important to note that when you look at those 9 schools, not only are they in low income areas, but the vast majority of those 9 schools are NES schools. So these are schools that have been identified by Houston ISD as schools where test scores are lower, where students are having problems in classes. And you have to believe that it's all part of a system that, and it really does need to be addressed.
I'm glad you picked this one, Pooja and Rahil. You hit it right on the coffin. I mean, I've been saying this. I've only been here, like you all know, in Houston for 3 years. And the second I got in Houston, that's all you hear out. The trains are so dangerous. And from then on, I was like, what is anyone going to do about this? It's just a matter of time. And unfortunately, it took a really unfortunate, tragic event for them to wake up and do something about it. And that's just never what you want to see, never what you want to hear. I mean, my heart breaks for that family, especially because it's right around the holiday times and they're mourning, that no longer having a child, a sibling. So it's really rough. I just hope that they take this as a larger problem rather just addressing this one-off incident because as we all know, this is a rampant issue around Houston. It's not just
Yeah.
near Milby.
It really is. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the overall impacts that trains have later on in this episode. So we will get to that as well. And I just want to end with one thing. It is fascinating that Union Pacific, last week after the death of Sergio Rodriguez, they put out a statement and said, quote, Union Pacific shares Houston's grief following Monday's heartbreaking event when a teenager made a tragic decision to try and outrun a moving train.
So they're pinning it on the kid, the student.
Yeah. But a week later, now they're saying, okay, you know what? We will stop running these trains from 7 to 8. So it is so frustrating. And we'll see what happens. And I said this last week on our episode on Friday. It's great that all the leaders are saying that, hey, we have to do something. We're going to do something. Are they actually going to do something? A year from now, 6 months from now, whatever the time frame is, will they actually do something? Because they've known about this. They've known how trains have impacted communities. And now, just again, because it's in the headlines, is it just, hey, yeah, we're going to do it? Just sympathetic headlines like, yeah, oh my gosh, this is so bad. Let's see if they actually follow up on this.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how soon they take action. I mean, kids are still going to school,
Hmm.
still having to cross trains daily. School is in session now. So the time and the onus to make it right is now. It's
Yeah.
not years later.
I'm going to get to my big story, and it's been a rocky year, to say the least, for Mayor John Whitmire and Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo. So it's only right that we end 2024 with one more chapter to this contentious story that we already have. Last week, Whitmire made comments basically saying Judge Hidalgo would not run for reelection. She's up for reelection in 2 years, so she would not run for reelection in 2 years because she's not enjoying her work and because of her documented emotional issues. And this week, Mayor John Whitmire said he is not backing down from those comments and basically said, I was trying to be sympathetic. I was not trying to make things political. I can't help but laugh. What are y'all's thoughts? Pooja, you start off.
I think the whole back and forth with the mayor and county judge is crazy. I mean, like I think it's kind of funny sometimes. It's kind of a funny story to talk about with your friends. And did you hear the mayor said this about the county judge and the county judge did this? But really, it actually makes a big difference when you think about government and these elected officials working together. I don't know if you remember this, but during Beryl and during some of these major weather events that we've had, these people had dueling press conferences. They had press
Hmm.
conferences that were important to our community. They contained important information, weather warnings, as well as electricity warnings, and all of that that people needed to know. And they held them at the same time in different locations. Then they
Yeah.
finally did one press conference together and they were arguing. Like, it's more than just kind of a funny story. It's actually a really sad, I think, look at how our government is working.
And we still don't know if Mayor Whitmire and Judge Hidalgo have officially met, like in any capacity outside of these public appearances, right? Not shaking hands at the
Right.
marathon. Remember that one? That was so crazy. We don't even know. Like I have not seen anything from either side saying they've actually met in an official capacity.
Yeah, I mean it's petty to put it simply, you know. On one hand, yeah, it's kind of funny when it's like kind of playful, but this is no longer playful when it affects the community when we have these emergency situations and this pettiness is kind of spewed over. It's like, okay, nothing's wrong with good petty, but when you need to be about business and
Hmm.
handle and work together and handle things together, you need to put that aside. And it doesn't seem like that's what they're doing. So it's a joke.
We've heard Anise Parker, former Mayor Anise Parker's name thrown out as a potential candidate for the county judge position when it is up for election. Do y'all think that Judge Hidalgo is going to run now just to spite Mayor Whitmire? Like, is this going to be a spite running? This is so crazy.
Honestly, I don't put anything past politicians anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you just comparison, we'll talk about this a little later, but just comparison to what we're seeing with the Harris County District Attorney's office and kind of these political spats that just are funny until they're not funny, right? So I
Hmm.
think it's going to be another case of that.
And I think the crazy part, I mean, about when you talk about like the DA's office and things like that, and I understand the mayor is not a political position, but John Whitmire was a Democrat for many years. These people are in the same political party. I mean, if we can't even get along at that point, what are you going to talk about when you talk about divided government? It makes absolutely no sense. They should
Yeah,
be
it
at the
makes
very least working together. They don't need to be friends, but they should at least be able to work together when it comes to getting things done.
Yeah. And one last thing, if you want to read this, I've linked a story in our show notes. But congratulations to Mayor Whitmire. He was named Texas's most miserable politician by Texas Monthly. And again, you can read the entire thing there.
You've got a little petty in you too. I like the way you said that.
I'm just reporting the facts, okay? But you can read that story in our show notes. Hey, speaking of politicians and being petty and things that are going on, this kind of brings up your story, Monique. Tell me what's going on right now with the district attorney's office. What is Kim Ogg up to?
Yeah, so the latest, she recently donated more than $2.4 million from her office's asset forfeiture fund this year, which nearly cut her cash balance in half. So many of these donations went to well known nonprofits, but she earmarked hundreds of thousands of dollars for organizations tied to political allies. Some of these include the bail bond industry that contributed to her reelection campaign and a personal connection of a senior deputy, Vivian King. That obviously is raising a lot of questions about pettiness. Sean Tier, her incumbent, of course, who's going to take office in January, he blasted the expenditures, called them childish, and said the reduced funding could complicate his efforts to assist other law enforcement agencies. And he said it was unfortunate that the outgoing district attorney would be so spiteful trying to punish him for beating her in the election. This giveaway leaves Tier with the smallest pool of discretionary resources of any Harris County district attorney in at least 11 years.
Wow. So is it illegal what she did?
Well, it's not illegal. It's lawful, but when you look at the historic precedent that she's setting, right? And we are just weeks away from Tier taking office. And if you recall, just it hasn't even been, I think it was just over a week ago that Kim Og had ordered prosecutors to make a quote unprecedented plea deal recommendation of life without the possibility of
Yeah.
parole in every pending capital murder case that's more than a year old. It's like what a way to end it, right? In her last few weeks of her tenure, she's making these big swings that could have a long lasting impact.
Yeah, Sean Tier, when he was on with us earlier this month, he was very frank about the fact that Kim Og is not making the transition easy. And this is going to be interesting last couple of weeks as that transition wraps up and Sean Tier finally takes office. And I know we're going to hear about the shortcomings from the previous administration once Sean takes office. And he's not shy in terms of reporting and letting people know
No, not
where
at
Kim
all.
Og fell short.
I mean, I think it's clear that these are two people who cannot stand each other. And I think they've both been very open about not getting along at all, about not wanting to help each other. I mean, Sean Tier used to work for Kim Ok, right?
Right.
And left her office, spent the next few years criticizing her, and then beat her incredibly badly, which I don't think anybody was expecting him to win that primary with such a wide margin. So I think there is no question that there is very bad blood there. And it'll be interesting to see what Kim Og does after all of this. She still has a career ahead of her. It'll be kind of interesting to see if she wants to run for another office or what she wants to do with that.
It'd also be interesting to see what the public thinks about this move. If she does try to take office in another capacity, would she have already kind of lost trust?
Yeah. I don't think she's going to be running as a Democrat anymore. I don't think. Maybe it's independent. Maybe it's as a Republican for whatever office she runs for. So we'll see. And that's a move that we'll definitely watch out for. Are you ready for an unforgettable holiday experience? Then you gotta head to Houston's original neighborhood downtown to check out Snow Glow on the Bayou. From December 20th to 29th, Buffalo Bayou at Allen's Landing will become the centerpiece of the season with a spectacular immersive light show projected on a towering water screen. This show is going to blend art, music, technology, and of course, nature. So grab your lawn chairs, blankets, and of course, pack some hot cocoa for Snow Glow on the Bayou. Snow Glow runs daily from 6 to 10 p.m., and here's the best part, it's free. You can learn more at downtownhouston.org/snow, or you can register for free by texting Downtown Holidays to 56512. I'll see you at Snow Glow on the Bayou. Get energized and revived this holiday season in downtown Houston.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
All right, let's get to our most overlooked stories. Pooja, kick this one off because as I promised earlier in the show, we were going to talk about the overall impact on communities by trains, right? And kind of zooming out. So tell me what's on your mind.
Well, I think it goes back to sort of some of the anger that honestly I do feel about the train situation in Houston. I think it is shocking for any elected official or really anybody in any position of power in our city right now to act like they are surprised by this horribly tragic death. I believe that this is an overlooked story just because it has been a problem for so many years. Hopefully that will change and it will no longer be quite as overlooked. But, I was just thinking on my way to work the other day, I pass up those train tracks every day on Wesleyan, that kind of go
Hmm.
through West U things. And, I've never seen a stall train over there ever. But yet,
Yeah.
every time I drive through Fifth Ward, I see a stall train. I think the idea that it's impossible to fix this problem is just not accurate. I think we
Yeah.
don't see these problems in higher income areas. You drive through the Heights, you don't see a train stalled there for 2 hours every single day. But why is it that when you drive through some of these certain areas in our city that we know have systematic problems, that we see that over and over again?
The Houston Chronicle actually posted this video this week that I've linked in the show notes. It was fascinating to see, but it was explaining how just this one intersection of train tracks causes so many delays. And of course, they are in lower income neighborhoods, right? But it's like these problems exist. We know they exist. How do you fix them? Will there be solutions? Last Sunday, when I was driving through downtown, sure enough, when I was going down Commerce, guess what? There was a train that was stalled there. And guess what I saw? People going underneath the trains because they had to go on with their lives. So we see this all the time. And again, officials know about this. And the biggest question is going to be, what will they do? Monique, what is your most overlooked story?
Yeah, so Wednesday, Harris County District and County Courts, they revealed an updated plan for expanding interpreter services for those navigating the court system. But they said they would still need millions in additional funding to sustain the effort. This new revamped plan, it calls for an increase in the number of available interpreters, training judges and staff around language access, and posting the availability of interpreters online and in the courthouse. The plan also calls for additional notice and signs about individuals' right to interpreter services. This announcement is roughly 3 months after Harris County's Commissioner Court boosted the court's funding by $725,000 to help increase the number of publicly funded courtroom interpreters in district and county civil courts. Interpreters are largely only available in criminal cases. It's not that they're not in civil cases, but oftentimes those requests get denied. So, even with the additional funding from the county district judge, Latasha Lewis Payne said there's no way the courts can adequately and timely provide interpreters with the current staffing levels, and that they would definitely need more funding in order to make their plans successful. She didn't say how much, though, but she's like,
Yeah.
this isn't going to be enough.
This is a deeply personal story for me. Now, it's not because we were tied up in the court system or anything like that, but my family immigrated here from Karachi when I was 5 years old. And to become a legal citizen, there is a lot of paperwork. There are a lot of meeting with lawyers. You have to go to the immigration office and talk to officials and all of that. And my parents, not being native English speakers, they had to pull my older brother out of school almost every single time to take him to go help interpret everything. And at this point, he's in middle school, high school. The process took forever, right? And I just feel so bad for all the families that are impacted by this because those services are so important, not only to getting things done rightfully, but also it impacts the children because we become the interpreters. So I really hope they find out how to fund this correctly and they get enough interpreters there because, again, guess who it impacts, right? It impacts a certain community.
Of course. I mean, if you think about Harris County, there's more than 145 languages spoken here. And to think when you have that robust of, languages spoken, but just diversity, you need to kind of come with a plan that can support that. And I just hope they get it right.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. I feel like that really puts things in perspective. There are so many families dealing with that right now.
Yeah, they really are. And it's such an important move that hopefully, they figure out.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
I'm James McComb, reporting live from home in my bathrobe and slippers. Tonight, we're talking Dunkin' Polar Peppermint Coffee. Gene's here with the latest. Gene, do you copy?
The home with Dunkin' is where you want to be.
All right, y'all, let's end this on a high note and get to our moment of joy. What made you happy this week, Pooja?
What made me happy this week is honestly, I've been thinking a lot about the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. I feel like every year during the holidays, she was showing up in some absolutely ridiculous hat, some crazy Christmas outfit, showing up, like, delivering cakes to seniors. We always saw her at like the super feast around Thanksgiving. Like last year, we did a horrible story about a family whose apartment had caught fire on Christmas Day. And it was just, I mean, a devastatingly sad story. This family had lost everything. They were already really struggling. The mother, she was unable to go to work and they had lost all of their possessions. And later on that evening, on Christmas Day, I got a call from Sheila Jackson Lee saying, "Hey, do you have their address? Do you have?" And I was like, "Actually, I don't have their address. I can give you like an intersection." They didn't have a working phone. I was like, "I'm so sorry.
Wow.
I have a first name for one of the kids, but I'll try to get you some info tomorrow." And I'm thinking like, "Oh, I wish I could do more. I wish I could actually give her some information." The next morning, we went back over there and people were delivering pallets of food and supplies. She had somehow looked up school records and found who this family was, found out where they lived, and was able to help them.
Wow.
I think that speaks so highly to her care for her community and the ability to really kind of that determination. I think most people would say, "Well, I don't have an address. I'd love to help. So maybe in a couple of weeks," type thing.
Wow.
But she truly was a person who made things happen. I know people had a lot of opinions about her, but I don't think anybody denies the determination she had. So I've really
Absolutely
been
not.
thinking about her a lot over this holiday season.
That's amazing. By the way, the Houston City Council voted unanimously to name Terminal E at Bush Intercontinental Airport after the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. So there is that as well.
Yeah, you just think about just how much probably was on her plate and the fact that she went to such extreme lengths. I mean, that's awesome. Doesn't get any better than that.
Right.
Monique, what's your moment of joy?
Yes, it's kind of on the same token of holiday spirit. Last week, actually, I had this opportunity to go to the Greater LGBTQ plus Chamber of Commerce, their annual holiday jingle. And, everybody's having parties around this time of the year, whether it's a holiday party, professional holiday celebration. That's pretty much the norm. But this year kind of felt a little different. I had, before that, ran into Tammy just getting coffee and croissants at a bakery. And she was just telling me how they just really needed to have some fun. And she was mainly attributing that to just kind of the post-election feels that the
Yeah.
community is just having right now. And she was telling me that just while this isn't their first rodeo, this is like their ninth annual celebration since they started in 2016. But she was saying this year they noticed like an uptick in registration numbers and just their participation has just gone through the roof at many of their recent events ever since the election. So it was just really nice to be able to check it out and see people let their hair down,
Hmm.
especially around the holidays. When you think about it, the holidays can already be hard for some people, especially if you don't have family. But when you think about this vulnerable community who sometimes they don't have family, not because of, either family is deceased or, anything like that, but most of the time it's just because of they're not accepted. So um, it's already hard. Then you add the kind of post election feels to it and what's coming ahead. You just need a relief and some type of escape. And so it's just really nice to see that unfold.
That's really cool. And by the way, Tammy Wallace is the co-founder, president, and CEO of that chamber. So really good to hear that even though they are bracing for an interesting 4 years, they are still taking the time to celebrate and have a moment of joy themselves.
Yeah, I mean, and this upcoming legislative session as well. Statewide, there's a lot of anxiety.
Okay, my moment of joy, it should have been that my Texas Longhorns are playing Clemson tomorrow in the college football playoffs and they're going to win that game, but it's not that, all right? Because I'm not going to do that. Instead, it's about one of my favorite bands, and it's a Houston band. Khruangbin is finally going to be playing in Houston, y'all, after nearly 3 years. It's been that long. The last time they played here was May of 2022. That is so crazy. And now they are playing in the Woodlands, but we're just going to say it's Houston, okay? It's all good. They're finally playing in April. I love this band. I've been like yearning for them to play a concert. I found them during the pandemic, and truthfully, they got me through some hard times. Their music is so positive. It's so inspirational. There are a lot of instrumental songs, right? You won't get too many words, but the ones where you do have words. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm so excited. And I just want to throw this out here in the public space because I've been trying to book them for an interview here on CityCast Houston for over a year. So if anybody knows Laura Ochoa, aka Leezy, or Mark Spear, or DJ, tell them we want them on CityCast Houston because they are one of my favorite bands.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, you gotta try it, right? You gotta try it. If you don't try, then you can't complain.
I believe in you. It's gonna happen.
Y'all, that was so much fun. Monique, thank you so much. Pooja, thank you as well. And here's to an interesting end of 2024. And I can't wait to have y'all back on in 2025.
Can't wait. Until then, happy holidays and happy new year.
Yes, see you next year. Thank you.
That was ABC 13 reporter Pooja Lodia and Houston Landing's diverse communities reporter Monique Welch. All the stories we talked about are linked in our show notes. That will do it for this week here on CityCast Houston. Our producers this week were Laura Tsutsui, Francisco Kilgore, and Carleon Jones. Our newsletter editor is Brooke Lewis, and our executive producer is Laura Isensee. I'm your host, Rahil Ramzanali. Our music is by the band All the Kimonos. Hey, a quick heads up, we'll be taking a short break between now and the new year, but you'll hear a few of our favorite episodes to keep you company. And a big thanks to everyone who listened to CityCast Houston in 2024, whether it was one episode or if you're a super fan who never misses an episode, we truly appreciate it. We'll be back with your guide to January on the 2nd. Happy holidays.
Tammy Wallace. I was in an Uber and the Uber crashed. It crashed into another Uber and the woman got out and it was Tammy.
Oh my gosh. That is such a Houston story.
It really is.